Welcome to my presentation on Monero, Tony Soprano's favorite cryptocurrency, and we'll go into why that is here in just a little bit. So, Monero is a open source cryptocurrency that was first introduced back in 2014. Its creator, operating under the pseudonym of Nicholas van Saberhagen, described protecting the owner's identity as the most important aspect of a digital currency and cited Bitcoin's traceability as its critical flaw. Monero was forked from a Bitcoin derivative called BitMonero before becoming the currency that we see listed today. In 2017, Monero implemented RingCT to its encryption process. This uses ring signatures to hide the sender's output and bundles that information with additional decoy data. As part of the ring signature, funds are bundled with that of other users and then move through the total list of transactions, which makes it incredibly difficult to trace back to the source. Monero developers also included zero-knowledge proof method, which can guarantee a transaction occurred without providing any of the transaction's details. The transaction is then further hidden behind stealth addresses, which are generated by the network. These stealth addresses are untraceable and allow the user to receive their funds, despite being completely fabricated. Finally, Monero uses the Dandelion++ protocol, which masks the IP addresses of every device involved in producing the transaction. This is done through a process called flooding, where each transaction is sent to either a single node or many nodes utilizing repeated probabilistic methods. So with that brief history out of the way, what are the uses of Monero? It As should be abundantly clear at this point, Monero was built on the idea of anonymity. As I described in the previous slide, every aspect of a Monero transaction is built to obfuscate the details and provide the sender and recipient with absolute privacy. This priority has helped distinguish Monero in a competitive cryptocurrency landscape, but it also gives it a less than ideal reputation. It's become popular with users who are interested in some of the more illegal activities on the internet, and we'll discuss that here shortly. Beyond the emphasis on privacy, Monero uses a proof-of-work algorithm that creates a linear relationship between the input mined and the processing capability of the system mining it. The main advantage to doing this is that it allows miners that lack processing power to continue mining, as they're not prohibited due to sudden drops in profitability. Monero also uses ASIC resistant algorithms. The ASICs are custom designed chips that provide a very specific function and are used in the mining of numerous cryptocurrencies, as they offer generally better performance than the microprocessors found in everyday PCs. ASIC resistant cryptocurrencies like Monero discourage the ASIC use by decentralizing the mining process and making it nearly unprofitable to mine them with ASICs. As far as requirements go, Monero can be mined on in general consumer grade PCs. As far as software is concerned, any OS can run it. They ask that you use the required software, and they recommend XMRig or CS Miner on their website. So earlier I mentioned that Monero was growing in popularity among individuals or groups that are interested in more illicit slices of life. This has become a major concern for both regulators and law enforcement around the world. Hackers have utilized Monero in a concept known as cryptojacking, which is embedding malware into unsuspecting victim systems, which then mine the cryptocurrency in the background. Ransomware groups often request Monero as payment in their schemes due to the difficulty in identifying its transaction, and it's also seen use in a lot of dark web transactions and organized criminal activities. As a result of the unsavory crowd that Monero's appealed to, several governments around the world have delisted it from their exchanges. While that growing list does not yet include the United States, the IRS has begun posting bounties on Monero transactions. They're offering $625,000 to any contractor that can develop tools that trace Monero transactions. The regulatory pressure like this prohibits coins from Monero even though they may be targeted at bad actors who use it, there are legitimately honest actors who like the anonymity that are promised by the currency. Those users are equally affected by the growing call to suspend the currency, which has included deposits and trading, and it may leave users unable to spend their currency. So what are the solutions? Monero could, for instance, there's a strong push to identify the users and attempt to enforce lawful transactions. So they could find a middle ground between privacy and cooperation with regulatory agencies. That could be important to stemming the tide of nationwide delistings. They could also be more forthcoming about working with law enforcement to voluntarily offer up the bad actors, which is even if they're willing to make all the transactions, if they're not willing to make all the transactions transparent. The aim of both regulators and Monero should be to destigmatize the currency and distance itself from its popularity among its worst offenders. So thank you all for listening. I hope that you found Monero as interesting as I did. It's a very unique currency, and hopefully its trajectory is able to turn around.